Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ecosystem Builders. I'm Vaughn Mordecai, and today's guest is someone who lives and breathes the partnership world in a way that a lot of others don't. Pat McNallan is the co-founder and chief revenue booster. He's a booster at Launch GTM, where he spent years helping companies avoid guessing their way through partner engagement, accelerating their revenue through partner routes to market. So if you work in partnerships and you don't know Pat yet, you will. He's one of the rare operators who actually knows how to turn partner chaos into something that's predictable and revenue generating. And he does it without all the buzzwords and theatrics that we see around the industry. So let's jump in, Pat. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vaughn. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Let's start with something really simple. Who are you? Who are you really? And what's something that I like to ask folks? What's something that's outside of the partnership grind that actually fuels them? Things they're involved with in their personal lives that kind of start to show up for them as a leader. Let's talk about that.
All right, Vaughn. Wow, big juicy question right from the get-go. So I'm Pat McNallan. Been in a career in technology, always in sales. I like to say I've been doing sales since a junior in college. I've had the distinct pleasure of working most of my professional career, almost 30 years, at one company, and that one company was Intel Corporation, starting in direct sales, moving all the way into the channel side, and then of course becoming the solutions channel chief for the globe for Intel Corporation. Retired about 4 years ago, and have actually learned more about the channel in the last 4 years than maybe I did in the 15 years I was doing it at Intel Corporation. And it's because I'm working with all these fantastic people. Something that most people close to me know, and you'll start to see why I always come back to the people side of this. I'm actually the oldest of 9.
Wow.
In this day and age, you hear it, but not very often. In working with that many different personalities, not only in the family life, but also in the corporate life and now the business life, partners and partnerships, it's all about the people. I mean, there's so many different interfaces, so many different people just at partners. But then you start to look at the customers of those partners, and it's just people working with people. And that's what I get out of bed every morning thinking about is how do we make that engine work the best it possibly can? Wow,
that's amazing. I am the oldest of 7, and it's probably why I'm loud. You seem far quieter than the loudness at my
Well, Vaughn, we need to spend a little more time together, and then we'll probably determine that we sucked all the oxygen out of the room.
There's a good chance of that. Cool. No, I like that. Now, what do you do? What do you do in your spare time when you're not helping people build partnerships? What do you like? What are you into? I see an amp in your background.
That's right. That's a Marshall amp. I love to play guitar, big time into woodworking, do all sorts of stuff with epoxy resins and, different cabinetry. So that's the kind of stuff that you can look backwards and see that something is accomplished. It's something real. It's something tangible. And it allows you to, get that inner creativity out, and also inspires you to do different things when you're actually in the professional world.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think we all have these kind of things that we have to do in the background to find our feet and to clear our heads. So I'm always interested in what people are about, and playing some music on your guitar is impressive. No, all right, so let's dig into your career just a little bit. I know the channel chief for Intel right now. I know his lieutenant, the next guy in command. How did you find your way into that? For some reason, the folks at Intel, they work there forever. It's really interesting. The guy I know that's they're sort of the second guy in command has been there for 15 or 20 years running that place. So it's how did you find your way in, and why you?
Well, I ask myself that every day doing it. I started there as a junior in college. I
Wow.
was picked out as a co-op from the University of Minnesota. They sent as
Gophers?
excuse me.
Are they the Gophers?
They are the Golden Gophers,
Nice.
Skyuma, absolutely. Very devoted to the maroon and gold, as they've done good things for me and helped set up, this professional career. But and I landed the job at Intel as a technical rotation person, and that was a co-op deal where I, worked the summers there and then went back to school and then ultimately got into their sales rotation or executive sales rotation program. And as soon as I graduated college, had that job. And in the PC heydays in the mid '90s or early mid '90s through the .com, I sat on the front row, sitting in Santa Clara, and then
Okay.
moved out to Minnesota, where I reside right now, and did all sorts of sales jobs. Carried the bag, sold silicon, sold enterprise solutions, rose through management. I got to management director level. I ran the central region for direct sales. And one of the key things that we did different than the other, the East and the West, is we embrace partners. In
Okay.
a day when, partners wasn't how we went to market at Intel, think back now, this would put us in the aughts, the 2000 and aughts, the 05s to the 10s era. We embraced partners and we were blowing our number out of the water. I went on vacation, true story. I tell this story all the time. So if we ever do get a drink, this one always comes out. I went on vacation with my family. I came back. My boss says, "You're going to run the channel for North America."
Oh.
And I'm like,
You're like, wait, what?
and the words are true as I say them. What did I do wrong?
That's
And
very different than partnerships now where people are dying to get in.
yeah, well, it was one of those deals. It wasn't built. And it was, we were working with partners, but Intel didn't necessarily have a partner play in the aughts. So had the opportunity to build something from scratch, had great mentors and leaders above me that coached and gave us the freedom to go develop this. And so that ability to build something from scratch, one, is extremely tiring and extremely exhausting, but it's awesomely rewarding. I mean,
Yeah.
it is classic. What you put into it is what you get out of it. And building that in the US and then across the Americas. And at that point, we were the sales side of the equation, and
Okay.
the program side was coming along. We were actually running our own programs in the field. Flash forward a couple of years, I mess up that whole Americas thing so much, I become the global solution channel chief. And essentially, the order is to make that same magic that we created here in the North America region, do it across the world. Which also, once again, was extremely rewarding, meeting some fantastic people, interacting with different cultures, understanding what really motivates them. But the common bond is they're trying to deliver a solution for someone else. And if your value proposition fits into that solution, then you're in, right? I mean, you know how to articulate it. Don't bore them with 1,000 pages of glossies and all sorts of presentations. Just get to the basics of why does your solution help them make money and help their customers, and you're rocking and rolling.
That's cool. Now, I have a follow-up question on your global role. I've been in those global roles before, and one of the really challenging things is that when you get into each of the individual regions, they're always like, this is why we're different and this won't work for us. How did you navigate that when when the program was so relatively new and you're trying to expand globally like that?
Yeah, so part of it, I mean, one, there's truth to that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, selling into Europe, you're selling into all these various little countries, and although the name on the front door might be the same in 7 of those countries, they operate very differently.
Yeah.
Now, by the time I was leaving, you could start to see there was more of a European approach than there was a country approach, but it's still country by country. When you move into the Asia Pacific region, it's pretty similar. That they're
Okay.
all separated by those different countries. So you got to be able to have a program that meets the needs, that you have some flexibility. Also brings the companies together so that a total benefit can be created. And it isn't a one size fits all, right?
Okay.
I mean,
Yep.
I'm a big promoter even today of, if your incentive should be based on what the partner does with and for you. Not just because of who they are or the size they are in general. It's what do they do for you and how do you activate that and really inspire that into those organizations. I mean, that's how I approached it, and I still think that's an approach today that they take.
Yeah, I think a lot of them do. They try to keep it as simple as possible, suit it to the region as much as they can, but keep the core skeletal structure in there as much as possible. It's
Yeah,
really
I mean, everyone can. So now my Minnesotan will come out. Everyone can't be snowflake special. I mean, all those that flies in the face of scalability, that flies in the face of getting the right amount of data, the proper information. There can be nuances, but everyone can't have their own thing. And so
Yeah.
then that's where there's always the us versus them, region versus HQ, region versus region, however you want to dictate it, but you got to give them the core framework to build around.
Yep.
And then really, really work hard to make sure that it doesn't become some special, snowflake special situation that could never be replicated or scaled.
Yeah.
Because
That's
the depth of programs.
So how long did you say you were in Intel?
I was there for almost 30 years. The last 14 was in channel.
Okay, wow. So that retirement had to have been a big change. And now you're into Launch GTM. You have the coolest title ever, Chief Revenue Booster. When people hear your name, they know the Launch GTM name, they automatically assume, okay, it's partner acceleration. But now that you've made that transition, what exactly does Launch GTM do? I mean, give us the no spin, no fluff, no marketing version of this. What are you guys about? What problems are you solving?
All right. So no spend, no marketing. We help emerging companies, startups, typically 2 million to 50 million in revenue. We help them mature their go-to-market. Okay. And mature their approach so they can actually have a conversation with a partner and start a legitimate program with a partner after we walk out the door. Okay. And this doesn't happen in 6 months or 12 months. We can get someone there in about 6 to 10 weeks.
Wow, that's quite a bit different, because when people ask me about scaling up their partner programs, my answer typically is that you might see traction in the first year, and at about the third year, you're probably seeing some meaningful revenue coming through. But you're programmatically bringing that online in 6 to 10 weeks then.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's no magic beans here. They still have to go recruit partners. They still have to go through that activity. But so many companies, and the size that I'm talking about. So once again, I noticed that there was a miss in the market in my last few years in the Intel gig, is that these smaller ISVs have phenomenal ideas. They have phenomenal products. They have passionate CEOs and founders and CTOs, but they struggle with the process. And I know process is a dirty word, but if you don't have any, that's also a dirty word, because you just sit and you kind of mull around or fumble around in the dark. And our whole goal and role is to shine a light down a path with the proper tools to get you so you can start to scale. I didn't say you'd be a 100% scale engine when we walk out after 10 weeks. I said you would be on the right direction, because most of our customers they're looking every direction, and you just get paralyzed because I don't know where to start. Or I did start and we made a couple of missteps. And so then you go back. Once again, you made no progress. Our whole thing is to get and show progress.
Yeah. That's a great approach, and bringing in a company like Launch GTM is really a good idea. I've wrote a little bit about this in different white papers and things, but the typical approach that early stage organizations take is that they simplify what it's actually going to take them to get these motions in play, and so then they turn it over to some young person in their organization. It might be their first director role, or they're just sort of handing them this assignment and they have to go out and build it, but they don't oftentimes have the experience or expertise to really build a program like that. They just seem to succeed in their previous role. And so you find that particularly on the startup side of things, you find a lot of presidents and CEOs or the CROs that will say, oh, we tried partnerships one time, it didn't work. And the reason for that is that they sucked at it. It wasn't that partnerships wouldn't actually work for their business. It's just they did it really poorly.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the approach, well, I 100% agree with you. I always call it ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
The first thing is everyone wants to recruit partners. I mean, almost, hey, will you help me recruit partners? And my first question is always, for what?
Nice.
I mean, for what? Well, to do this, well, what have we done to enable that? Well, if we sign up a partner, they'll do it. I'm like, in a perfect world, and if you're a unicorn, fantabulous. But for the rest of us humans, you got to be able to articulate a value proposition. You got to tell it what's in it for them. Why should they care? Why should their customer care? And you got to put on multiple hats as you're approaching a partner. Once again, it's easy to put someone in a position, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to be either really good at the program side or the marketing side or the partner interface side. It's tough to find someone that can do all three. It's not impossible. There's plenty of places that do all three, but they'll come from one of those backgrounds. And so understanding the type of background that we're working with, because our customers, we're scaling a team of 1 or a team of 2, and in the ones that are really blessed, a team of 3. That's not a lot of people, right? I mean, in having the right workflow and the right direction mapped is a huge time savings and is a huge benefit for any company on knowing how they can go and work and put one step in front of the other and really take on their own personal ambitions and apply it into that along with the corporate ambition.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I'm coming from a partner management platform, and I can't tell you the number of times we talk to people that just say, okay, we're building this program, so we have to buy a PRM. And my question is always, what are you planning to do with that? And do you have even anyone that can support it once it's there? And if those two things, if they don't have good answers to that, sometimes you have to tell them, look, you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a funny approach to sales, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
well, I mean, but it's how you have lasting customers, and it's how you have. You didn't say you wouldn't want them as a customer. You're saying that, hey, let's here's a couple of people you could work with to get you to a point of, people buy software, any software, and they think it's going to solve their problems.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't know what the problem was or how they want to tackle the problem, it's really tough to implement that in a software package. So you got to understand the fundamentals. It doesn't take years of knowledge, but once you understand the fundamentals and the workflow, then all of a sudden the software is working for you versus you working for the software. Yeah. Meaning, well, that's all that this can do. And I know the solutions are all configurable to a process that's already defined, and you can implement that. So, just the key takeaway here is make sure you're getting what you want out of the solution and it's working for you.
Yeah, that's true. Now, give me an example of a really big impact you've had in your business now. You don't need to tell me the client name or anything, but you do this. Give me an example or two, something that you're really proud of having accomplished.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it's working with, uh, based on the customer size that we work with here at launch, and there's 4 other guys with me
Mm,
that do
okay.
this. It's so awesome that, I mean, we've worked with several, I mean, almost 50 different accounts now in the last 3 years of really diving into this aspect. And it's awesome following up with customers that we worked with 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and see how far along they've come, how their teams have grown, how their revenue has grown, how their interaction with partners has grown. Because once again, it's not a digital switch. You just don't turn on partners. You just don't turn on a partner organization. You grow it, you develop it, you nurture it, and you get out of it what you put into it as long as you're putting in the right stuff. You can spend a lot of, activity doesn't mean progress.
Yep.
Just because everyone's busy, and you're not making more revenue, there's something fundamentally happening that either needs to be automated or it's just busy work for busy work's sake.
Mm,
Make sure that your efforts are applied to your vision, mission, and charter, so you know exactly how you're bringing in more revenue, how you're helping your partner, and how you're helping your customer of your partner. I mean, those are the fundamental golden rules, and you'll be going a long way. So I guess that answer might be a little bit of a cop out, but it is fun. I mean, I keep very close contact. My customers know, our launch go to market customers know. I'll drop them a line. I'm not trying to get another piece of business. I'm usually just checking to see how they're doing, where it is in the process. But I mean, I'll tell you, there's little micro wins all the time. So a lot of the stuff is, we're going to go recruit partners. Fine. How are we going to do it? You got to set that up. But even helping them on their partner deck, that first introduction meeting, and
yeah.
having them call you back. Hey, they took the meeting. We met, we had a half hour. They sat with us for almost an hour. They're asking phenomenal questions. I mean, those types of things, the buttons start to pop off my shirt with pride that I
Yep.
know this stuff works, right? The team knows this works, but you got to have a certain presence, you got to have a certain confidence, and you got to have a certain understanding of who you're talking to. They get approached every day, and I would dare I say how many calls various partners take a day of new people trying to sell them stuff. You got to be ready and prepared to stand out and also to deliver value in the first meeting.
Okay. So it sounds like you've got a pretty clear playbook that you work through. I mean,
Mhm.
for folks that aren't yet engaged with you or even anyone, but that have been kind of assigned the task of spinning up these partner programs, what is it? I mean, what's that playbook look like? What are kind of the 5 steps that you take them through?
Well, yeah, so I mean, the first is what is the company? So forget about partners. I mean,
Hmm.
wild thought. I mean, so our first partner meeting, how we're going to do this. What is the company trying to accomplish? And what are you selling? How do you
Yeah.
sell it? How long does it take to sell? We have NDAs with all of our. What kind of margin? What kind of margin do you expect? What kind of margin you will? You got to start painting the picture of what is the company, how much, what levels above you understand partners.
Okay. Because a lot of times it's zero.
They either heard it or I always say there's multiple times when starting a partner program or starting to work with partners happens. One, you're about to go into a funding round and you want to have a scale strategy. You just came
Mhm.
out of a funding round and they're like, you
You're
need a
missing
scale
this.
strategy, or your CRO that you just brought in, actually his last gig or her gig was very much focused on partners.
Yeah.
And so you got to, but most of the time, the COO, the CFO, even the CEO have no clue what a partner is. I'm just giving margin away. All
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
doing is
That's
giving
truly what
margin away.
they think. Mhm.
Yeah. And so then really understanding the motivation above in the company so you can help position partners for that new channel chief or the person in charge of doing this, it really goes a long way. Otherwise, that person's going to create this little bubble in a little organization that's going to be very misunderstood. And all it does is take money and it seems to bring us deals, but we don't know why and blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's about educating, especially the account size we work with. I mean, the CEO, the CFO, the COO, if they're not interested in making more revenue or how to make more revenue, then maybe we're already in the wrong conversation. So, I mean, you asked how it started. That's critical in our conversations to make sure that the company believes this is a great direction to go.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit to a few kind of industry type things.
Sure.
The first one is we're wrapping up the year. We're heading into 2026. What do you think is heating up? What are the big priorities that people need to pay attention to? Are they going to see pressure points that we should be aware of? What are you excited about as we head into 26, and what are you a little bit anxious about?
Yeah, maybe my excitement and anxiety are in the same spot. I can't imagine how many different software tools, solutions, salespeople that are approaching even you, Vaughn, or any other channel chief or channel chief directors or teams on how my thing with AI is going to help you in so many different ways, that this will fix all your problems, or it'll
It's a
fix this
panacea,
problem.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so one, I'm a big believer in AI. I am.
Yeah.
I'm also a big believer in if you don't know what your data is today, or you don't have data, or you don't have a process, or you don't, what's the other, now I space, but you got to know what you're optimizing.
Yeah.
You got to know that it requires more information. You got to know that you have to have one version of the truth. So, although there are so many cool things, and my goodness, in our gigs, we get to see so many cool tools. I mean,
Yeah.
code tools for salespeople, software tools that can tell me what your sales strategy is within, a couple of weeks of phone calls, optimizing your content, no brainer, never being, the ability to be always prepared for a customer meeting, just using some of the chat features that are out there. And it goes on and on and on. But guess what? The thing that has to have is information. It has to have data. You have to have one version of the truth. And if you don't have the one version of truth, all you're doing is optimizing these little snippets. And if they're disconnected, you're not getting total value.
Yeah, it's funny because people start to ask me about, hallucinations in AI and things like that. And my answer to them is that the AI is the right answer to the wrong question, or the right answer to the wrong data that it's built on. And without the skill set of asking the questions correctly on the right data source with the right information available, it's a bit of a triple-edged challenge.
I mean, as a sales director out there today, why, or, channel sales, partner sales, direct sales, I don't care. What the tool, that you could actually understand why you're losing, understand more than just pattern matching, really get the true sentiment, really get the good understanding of why that salesperson's doing better than the other salespeople, and then be able to bring everyone up to a higher level, rising tide. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. But that still has to be fed. You still have to be able to take it. And then, is there even the ability to monetize that data?
Yeah.
To other sources that would be really interested in why their product's not winning versus another product. There's so many angles to this that we are just literally, it's just the tip of the iceberg, but we're just scratching the surface here.
Yeah, I think so too. I also think that, there's always a lot of concern about people's jobs and losing jobs to AI and things like that. But the reality for me is that I'm a huge advocate of AI, but I'm also a huge advocate of humans. Humans in the middle of all of this that actually are guiding what it's doing. And one of the biggest failures that I've seen recently is actually people just turning crap over to AI that's generating crap and then going out to the industry with crap, basically. You get those emails every day that are so formulaic that they're being constructed by AI. They don't make any sense. I mean, like the words make sense, but the thing they're talking about is nonsense.
I mean, the biz dev side, that initial cold call is, they're trying to handle that all with artificial intelligence. But at the end of the day, people still sell to people. And in partnerships, you still need the link of a human. I believe that artificial intelligence can boost that human. It can do a bunch of the busy work, the creative content, all that stuff. But you still have to have the connection, because at the end of the day, if you're doing sales and you're working with partners, there's issues. And the issues you might not ever anticipate, but no one wants to try to figure out the issue through an AI bot. They want to talk to a human. You're selling a product. You're trying to make profit. You're trying to make revenue. It requires that human touch. Now that human has to know. So you want the human to be more valuable. They should know how to use those tools. Yeah. They should know how to advance their own work with those tools. If they don't, they might not be the right human in a year, or maybe 6 months, or maybe even start of next year. So there is a skilling required. But if you're unwilling to get skilled on these, then the decision's pretty easy. You're probably not going to be in that role in the next year. But if you're willing to learn it, you're using it, you're building upon it, and it's advancing your cause and making you scale faster, then you're going to be in demand.
I agree. Now let me ask you another question. With the startup groups that you're working with, are you running into ecosystem management much? That's been a hot topic for this year. I think it's settling down a little bit. For me, I think that ecosystems are beautifully chaotic. I learned about chaos theory when I was in graduate school, and they're an awesome example of chaos theory. But what is your experience there with ecosystems, and how is that playing out in those early stage programs, if at all?
Yeah, so I mean, remember the early stage, it's about finding the first partners. Mm-hmm. And now we can get into the various types of partners, and every day there's something new getting created. But you have to have multiple partners to have a channel.
Yep.
You have to have multiple partner types in in those channels in your ecosystem. So you get you essentially, ecosystems to me is managing multiple routes to market. How are you getting there through the classic just VAR or solution provider side? How are you getting there through the system integration side? How are you getting there, if it's managed service provided, cloud provided? It just goes on and on and on. So ecosystem management to me, in amongst the smaller players, is not as big a deal.
Okay.
It's still there, but it's all new. It's all just starting to formulate. So you can get some of the proper behaviors in place from the get-go, but you're not managing, a 20,000 ISV partner ecosystem. You're trying to manage, 5 to 25 partners and doing it well. And then you're growing in different partner types. So in our area, we don't see it as much. I'm a big believer, but if you don't have the core fundamental block, it's tough to it's tough to grow up.
Yeah, they're building into it as opposed to having to drink it from the fire hose, I guess, a little bit. Okay, so we're kind of running out of time. This always happens so quickly, but I've got 2 questions that I like to ask everyone that I chat with. The first one is, all of these senior leaders that I talk to on our show have a moment, okay? And it's a moment that that happened to them in their career that said, I'm in partnerships and I'm there and I'm going to stay there. And some of it has to do with a big, massive failure that they've solved and then realized that, partnerships were the answer. Some of them, it's that they just had this aha moment in the middle of their career that kind of drove that partnership strategy for them. But what's one big experience that if you kind of look back on your career, you just look at it and you go, man, I learned something there that has stuck with me for the rest of my career?
Yeah, to me, starting when we started and building it from scratch, I'm a huge puzzle guy. I love puzzles. I love trivia. I love all that crazy stuff. And it's a great living organism that's a puzzle every day. It's a puzzle that you deal and work with people. Coming from the background of a large family, dealing with people, understanding with people, what motivates them. The most rewarding thing, that brought me back every day is there was always something new that could be done. It doesn't mean we changed every minute. That's not, but there was so many people to meet. The diversity of styles and types, it just completely motivates you, and the passion. Most of the successful folks have such deep passion. They're super knowledgeable. They have passion to make results, and they love solving problems. To me, that was awesome. The enterprise sales side was cool, but you're really stuck with the customer, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's the customer aspect, and then we all love customers, but every once in a while you can be on the wrong side of a deal. In the partner world, you can just go to the next and the next and the next, and there's always something happening that someone's pushing the envelope in learning and helping teach, you know, two-way street there, learning what's happening and teaching what we're trying to accomplish. That's what motivated me every day.
That's cool. I personally, I hope that I can stay in partnerships for the rest of the time. I really enjoyed it. For folks that are just finding their way in partnerships, they're early on in their career. What should they do to make sure that they can kind of plan a path into partnerships or to stay into partnerships? You got any tips or tricks for them?
Yeah, I mean, classically, find a good mentor. I mean, find someone either at your company or outside of your company. There's plenty of people, if you're checking LinkedIn, that have great articles that are posting really good stuff all the time. Find yourself someone that you can model after, appreciate. Uh, Always be working with other people. Talk to your direct sales staff. Get a real good understanding of how they interact with partners. I guess what I'm saying is constantly learn. The
Yeah.
day that we stop asking questions inside of partner organizations is the day that we're probably delivering just a little less value because we're not learning. Go do the classic stuff of learn the tools, make sure that you're valuable, understanding how to use AI and all those things. But most importantly, find people that trust and you look up to that are doing the role and learn from them. And then always add your own spice to make it your own.
That makes sense. That's very good advice. The just to wrap up, here's my last question. If you were to recommend to folks let's call it three tips that would just make them better at partnerships today, like that would make an immediate impact on partnerships in their business, what would those three tips be?
3 tips. How does your solution help a customer?
Okay.
Why? So this understand that. Become a student of why what you're selling helps solve a problem for a customer. Tip number 2 is a correlation of that is why does a partner care? What's in it for them? How does your solution combined with others help them make more money? You learn those 2 things and you study those 2 things and motivations, you're going to be way ahead of the game. And the last one is just constantly be listening and learning. And, don't try to make it super cute, especially in the beginning. And when I mean cute, all little bells and whistles and things. Keep it simple. Find something that works, a program that works, a play that works, and then rinse and repeat and scale. Don't try to make this really big, cumbersome, cute thing that nobody really wanted. Find what works, rinse and repeat, and build upon that.
I'd give them some money. That's a big one. All right, folks. With that, we will wrap up again for this episode. So thanks, Pat. That was really insightful. Really appreciate the time. And with that, everyone, we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you, everyone. Take care now.
Bye-bye.